Hello you lovely people and welcome. In this video I'll be showing you the navigation and autopilot in DC Design's AV-8B Harrier 2. Now there are a couple of things I need to go over before we can actually get into the demo itself. So let's jump in the cockpit and clear those up. Right, let's just go over a couple of things. Now for the purpose of this part of the demo I do have labels on. Don't normally, but I feel I need to have these on to explain what I'm going to tell you. So, maybe a lot of you have been flying along in the Harrier and wanted to use autopilot and found that it's not doing what you would expect it to do. Obviously the AFC being the autopilot, and then you've got your altitude hold here, and then you've been hitting switches on the MFD and nothing's been happening. For those that don't know, if you click this, get rid of the yoke, the inertial navigation switch down here has actually been turned into an autopilot select switch of sorts. So it will rotate into a few different sections. So from off to C, just ignore. INS and ground, also ignore. Nav. Now nav will obviously do nav hold. So if you've got a flight plan, it will go with that flight plan, as I'll show in a bit. Also the same with IFA, in-flight align. And then lastly we have gyro. And this will do heading hold. So if you're flying a VOR and you're using the heading bug, you want to use the heading bug to get towards a certain location, that is the mode you will need to be in. So then obviously we have our altitude hold, and that works as described, but it needs to be, it can only be activated once the automatic flying controls are switched on. So I'm going to take the labels off, but just to show you again the certain modes you may want labels on if you don't know the layout of the switch. But basically if you work backwards, it's the last three options: nav, IFA and gyro. And then there's just two last things that I need to go over. The autopilot will not function below 140 knots. That's 140 knots. And so your aircraft will need to be in the conventional flight configuration. And also it does, just like the real Harrier, doesn't have approach or ILS landing support. So if you were hoping for that, unfortunately that's not the case, but the real Harrier doesn't have it anyway. Now let's get a few demos up and running and show you how it all works. Okay, so for the purpose of showing you the nav and in-flight align modes, I've made a short flight plan from Coningsby to Cranwell up to Scampton to Otbed, and then D070M inline to come back into Coningsby. Now I'll try and cover as much as I can in this short flight, so let's jump in the cockpit and get going. Right, so let's get configured for our flight plan following. The first thing we're going to want to do is take the yoke away. You'll notice that I've taken the labels off. That's just my preference, so I'll describe everything the best I can as and when I come to it. So next thing we want to do is to switch to either nav or IFA. Now nav's in the 3 o'clock position, IFA is at 5 and gyro at 6. So we can go with nav. It will work just the same in IFA, so the choice is yours. Next we want to come to the MFD. Select waypoint so that the information is up on the HUD. Now you've got a choice of two things. You can either switch to each and every waypoint as and when you want come to it by pushing these buttons here, or you can select auto, which will allow the flight computer to switch from waypoint to waypoint as and when you come to it. Now you need to remember that if you're going to be doing the manual type, if you end up changing your mind halfway in the flight and hit auto, it will reset the waypoint selection, so you need to quickly select the waypoint that you're coming up to so that you don't go back to the beginning of the flight. So with that, we'll bring the yoke back up. Next thing we need to do is to get into conventional flight and above 140 knots. So let's get that done now. We'll take the parking brake off, toe brakes on, and we're going to slowly advance the throttle, brakes off, at 70 knots, rotate the nozzles, go, and we're up, gear up, start advancing the throttles back towards the 0, flaps up, it's a bit bumpy, and okay, we're above 140 knots and we're in conventional flight. I'm going to throttle back, cruise at around about 250 knots, 1,000 feet. Now we're there, I'm going to switch on the AOC switch and the Alt hold, and the flight computer should do the rest. I'm going to sit back and see what happens. We're heading towards Cranwell now. Okay, so we are 5 nautical miles away from Cranwell and it's decided to turn. As you can see, it's following the flight plan that we have in the computer. Taking it a bit sharper than I thought it would do, but we are now heading up to Scampton. Okay, we're coming up to Scampton. Once we hit 5 nautical miles, I'm guessing it will go into the turn. And there we go. So the flight following is pretty simple. Looks like we're going to be taking a sharper turn, but we are still following the flight plan, which is all good. And again, we're coming up to 5 nautical miles out and to turn now. Obviously, the faster you're going, the wider the turn will be. And we're going to make the turn now. And we're on the homeward leg to Coningsby. Now I'm just going to show you a little bit extra before I get on to the next point of the demo. So once we're in line with Coningsby, I will show you whereabouts are we. There it is over there. Okay, so I'm going to take off the automatic flying controls once we are in level flight. As you can see, we dropped below 140 knots and it automatically switched itself off. So I've accelerated and activated it again, and now it will follow where it left off. Okay, and I mentioned that there was no ILS or approach help at all. Not strictly true in that sense. We can bring some information up on that right MFD. So if I take off the automatic flying controls, we go into AWL, which is all weather landing. If I put in 111.150, enter, you can see that this course arrow has popped up. Now basically this will tell us what direction the ILS is running in. As you can see, it's pointing in the direction we're going to be heading towards, and then the course deviation indicator will slide as you go over the center line of that frequency. So let me show you. If I cross the runway to the other side, you'll see that the course deviation line will slip to the other side of the arrow. Okay, so we're coming up to the runway, and there it goes. What I'm going to do is going to swing it round and bring it in for a landing. Gear down below 250, flaps into stall, and bring it in for a short landing. Okay, so we want the HUD master mode into V-stall. And get the nozzles to 60 degrees. Okay. We can trim out as we're no longer in the automatic trim zone. Okay, so we can trim up so we're not nose down. Bring the angle of the witch's hat above the horizon so we have a nice comfortable landing, and it's a matter of just keeping the VVI so that we don't drop like a stone. And we're down. Okay, so let's get on to the next part of the nav. Right, so now I'm going to show you how you can use a VOR or a Tacan as a point of reference for the AFC to follow. First we'll need a frequency, so I'll show you VOR first, and you can input the frequency in two separate ways, either in the all-weather landing option on the upfront controller here, or into the transponder here. As you can see, we're in nav 1. I'll show you how you can do that on here. So if we put 115 decimal 700. Okay, now we are going to want to hit nav on the MFD, so we get our course arrow in the right direction. Next we're going to select IFA. I'm going to show you IFA mode. It's the same as nav, but I just thought I'd show you that it does work. And then last but not least, we need to hit the automatic flying controls. And as you can see, it will automatically turn onto the Trent VOR and follow it all the way there. Just wait for it to turn onto that heading and level out, and then I'll show you Tacan. As you can see, we're coming up to our course indicator here. Not quite on it, but it's getting there. Okay, and we're slowly leveling out and heading towards the Trent VOR. Okay, so now that we've got that done and dusted, I will now show you the Tacan. So we're going to take off automatic flying controls, keep it in the IFA, turn off the nav. I'm going to input 110 decimal 500 as the default that it's always on, and now you can see we've cleared the screen. Next we can enter our Tacan. Now you can either do it again on the upfront controller here using the TAC, or you can go down here, rotate the knob all the way around, and you can see we've got a Tacan option, and you can use these knobs to dial in the code that you want. So I'll keep it on there because I can show you. So we want Wittering. 1, 2, 3. X-ray is already on there. Hit enter. Boom. There's our course pointer. The Tacan has changed all the information in here. Come back on the MFD, hit Tacan, everything levels up, and then the last thing to do is to hit AFC and altitude hold, and it will do as advertised before. It will follow the Tacan all the way to where it needs to go, as it would do with a VOR. And we'll wait for this to get on course, and then we'll get on to our last little section, which is my favourite because it's all manual, and that's the heading bug hold. And our heading indicator should show up or move across as we line up. There comes the indicator. Okay, and so we're heading in the right direction. Thought 30 nautical miles away from Wittering, and like I say, it will just follow the route all the way there. So Right, now we're on to our last section of the Autopilot / nav demo for the Harrier. I use the term demo because I'm just showing you the features. I'm not going to call it tutorial because I'm not telling you what you're meant to be doing. I'm just showing you the features. You can do what you like with them. You've got your own methods. So for the last part of the demo, I will show you how we can use the heading bug in conjunction with the AFC to get to where we want to go, i.e. VORs. So I'm going to need a frequency, so I'm going to tune into Gamston into the AWL because it's a lot easier and quicker to do it than getting down on the transponder. So 112.800, enter that, and as you can see we've got Gamston here. We've got a course arrow and deviation. We're not pointing in the right direction, so I can change that in a second. Take the yoke away. We're going to put this to 6 o'clock into gyro. We're going to hit nav there. I'm going to hit the AFC and altitude hold. That was a bit sharp. Now that's basically going to turn on to where our heading bug is. Our heading bug is currently located up here. We want to bring it round, but before we do that we want to change the course deviation so that we get in line to where we need to go. And we are heading in the wrong direction, so bring that round. As I say, this is my favourite method of route following. I prefer to have the frequencies written down and then tune into them as and when I need to, and then using the course deviation I can tell if I'm in the right direction or not. So we'll leave that just to turn around. We're not far from Whittering, to be honest. Rutland Water should be around here somewhere, or you should be able to see it. But that's the wash. And we'll clean up our direction of travel as and when we get near it. So as you can see, the deviation is off slightly, so we're going to use our left knob here to line those up. If I go over slightly and then bring the heading bug here, hopefully we won't be too far off. Okay, I overcooked it just a bit, but we're still going in the right direction. So now we will go in a nice straight line all the way to Gamston, and we've got our course indicator there as well. And I'll just speed it up, and then we'll go to Ottringham, and then once we're over Ottringham I will end the demo. Let's speed it up. We also need to take into account any gusts of wind or side wind that could be blowing us off course, as is happening at this moment. So we do need to make slight adjustments every now and then. Just need to be aware of it, that's all. Okay, so we're less than 5 nautical miles away from Gamston. which I believe is just here. And so I'm going to input the Ottringham VOR, which is 113.900, 113.900. Okay. Can enter that now. There you go. You can see we are not in the right direction, so we're going to change that course needle. Hit nav, sorry. Okay, you can see the course indicator is coming into the center there where the chevron is. We've not had to make any adjustments with the AFC, it's kept it in the mode. And there you go, we are now tracking onto Ottringham. We've got all our information here, the bearing, the distance, and also OTR letting us know we're on the actual VOR to Ottringham. There you go, we're at the Ottringham VOR. Take off the automatics. And just down here is the VOR beacon. So there we go, we've covered everything we can with the autopilot and navigation as well. Pretty simple once you get the hang of it. So yeah, we got there in the end. So if you've got this far, thank you very much. Do appreciate all the support you guys give me. As always, take care, and I will see you in the next one. I'm just going to go and bomb this container ship. See you later.